Hello everyone, I've assembled 20 tips for new players. This video is assuming that maybe you just downloaded Summoner's War and you don't know what you're getting into yet. First of all, the best thing that you can do is start the Summoner's Way questline and complete it, but that should be obvious. At the end, you get a Transcendence Scroll that will give you a guaranteed Nat 5, but arguably even more important than that, you get a path for progression, along with several other monsters that are going to be very valuable throughout your journey. Speaking of which, what a great segue. It's almost like I wrote it in the script like this. Save every monster that you get from the Summoner's Way questline. I'm talking about Fran the Light Fairy Queen, Lapis, Sath, Spectra, and Shannon. Each one of these monsters has a purpose. Most of them relate to giants, but others like Spectra are amazing in Trial of Ascension or DB12. We'll talk about those later. But out of those, you should probably prioritize building both Fran and Sath. You should even go so far as to second awaken your Sath. He is the hinge point for the famous Dot team, the hyper-efficient team used for Giants B12 clears. And Fran, because she can be used in the starter team as a healer and a ton of other places in the game, or she can also be a substitute leader for the Dot team if you don't want to go the route of using either Veramos or Lucian. Lucian will probably be later. This is a start. These are starter tips. These are new players watching this video, presumably. For how to rune Fran and Sath, check the aptly named videos on the YouTube channel, How to Rune Fran and How to Rune Sath. For the fourth tip, there's a segment in that Summoner's Way questline that asks you to clear a stage of Tartarus in hard mode. You can actually do a time limit floor for that, and as long as you clear above wave 10, it's going to be considered clearing a hard stage. The next tip is farm artifacts no matter what floor you can do of either the Steel Fortress or Punisher's Crypt. The reason being that no matter what the rarity of that artifact is, it's going to give you the same lump sum of stats, whether that be HP, defense, or attack. The only difference between rarities is how many substats they have. So at the start of the game, if you load up your 6-star monsters with artifacts, it's going to add to your survivability or your damage if you go for the attack one. All it can do is help you, and plus you can just sell the old ones later once you swap out to all those fancy legendary ones. Oh, speaking of the artifact dungeons, by the way, the Dot team can work here too. That's there you go. You know what? That's 21 tips for new players. That one's for free. That's from me to you. Remember too, as far as runes go, it's always going to be stats over sets. Don't sacrifice a lot of extra HP, defense, or crit rate just to complete a set of something. This is more often going to be true with offsets when you're looking at PvE, because usually you'll be able to complete a full set of Swift or Fatal. But just remember that if you have to sacrifice a whole bunch of a stat, let's say for instance for Verdehile, if you have to sacrifice a bunch of crit rate to get him on a full set of something, it's not worth it. When deciding what to second awaken first, odds are you should probably go for Sath and Tatu if you're planning on rushing down that Dot team for Giants B10 and B12. Or you can get Crow, the Dark Inugami. Bark bark, I'm a dog. He offers great value in the starter teams and will stay valuable everywhere else. Crow is known for his appearance in every single Rift dungeon ever, amongst other things. Prioritize getting to GB10 and GB12. I've mentioned it a whole lot during this video already, but it should really be your first milestone to get through GB10 and GB12 on auto. The reason being that it yields Swift runes, Despair, Fatal, and other things that are essential for your progression through Summoner's War. Especially Swift runes because they're going to increase the overall speed of your monsters that they're equipped to. Speed, remember, is the only stat that will never appear as a percentage on a single rune. I'll repeat that in a different way. The only way that you can get a percentage increase of speed on a monster is by equipping a full set of Swift. Flat's all you're gonna get, but that's not to say that you should slack on the speed. It's a very important stat. Not only does it dictate turn order, but it also loosely translates to more turns. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but for this video, it'll do. Back to GB10 and GB12 for a moment. If you want to do the Dot team, that team is going to look something like either Fran or Veramos as your leader for the safe version, 2 Melias, the Wind Dryads, Sath, and Tatu. And those last two are both second awakened, by the way. And 6-starred. They need those extra stats. The Melias, not so much, but, you know, you can make a case for it. Mine are 5-star. If you'd rather just do the starter team, then it can look something like either Veramos or Sigmaris as your leader, followed by Fran, Lauren, and 2 damage dealers. Probably 2A Crow, and either 2A Naomi, or whatever monster you didn't use for your leader. That could be a crit damage Veramos or Sigmaris. For that starter team, when you're breaking into GB12, you may find it useful to equip your damage dealers with slot 6 HP percentage. It hugely helps with survivability early on. After GB10 and GB12, you should go for ToA Normal. In fact, you should probably be trying to do as many floors of that as possible, but I mean you should make floor 100 of ToA Normal your goal after finishing GB12. The reason being it's a great source of rewards and will get you more crystals, summons, and Devilmon. Oh, and remember, don't use Devilmon on monsters that are not Nat 5s. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. Save your Devilmon for your Nat 5s. That's... Okay, that wasn't in the script either. That's 22. 22 tips new players should know. Along with Devilmon, you should try to save your resources whenever possible. What do I mean by that? I mean, don't 6-star everything without a purpose. In fact, don't even 5-star max level everything. It is more than okay to put monsters away in storage, even if they're good, until you're ready to use them. Let's talk arena for a second. At this point in the game, it's probably the best option to set a farming defense in arena. And what a farming defense is a very low level, very weak defense that's easy for someone to beat. The idea being that you stay low and are matched up against similarly low ranked players to make it easy to farm glory through completing arena wings. Thus, you're able to focus on leveling up your arena towers. Arena towers give passive bonuses everywhere in the game and to every monster. That is huge. Early on, it's great to focus on the speed tower, crit damage, defense HP. There's also the mysterious plant that increases energy production, so that way you can keep diving into dungeons faster, because you have to wait for your energy less long. Wow, is that the worst constructed sentence I've ever said? Maybe? That's why we stick to the script. 19 just says guilds. Join one. I'm gonna elaborate on that one a little bit more. The benefits are huge. You'll get guild bonuses equal to your guild's level. They function very similarly to arena towers, except only for PvE. You'll also gain access to the guild shop. This is where you'll get your weekly 5-star Rainbowmon to help you 6-star monsters faster, and Ifrit pieces, so you can get Theomars, Tessarion, and the other one. We'll be looking at the fusion hexagram for this tip. Fusions in Summoner's War are generally pretty rad. Your first fusion should probably be Melia if you're rushing down that dot team that we've talked about so many times, dozens of times this episode. Veramos, Sigmaris, and Riley are other priorities. Jean is great in Trial of Ascension, Zhongfei is super helpful as a frontliner in R5, and I can't remember all the other ones. There's also Bilger, who's the B in the BJR5 team. And for dragons, you'll want to build a Verdehile. Verd is almost universally used as a leader in Dragons B10 and B12 because of his 28% speed lead and his amazing kit that boosts everyone's attack bar, meaning that you're gonna get a lot more turns every single time he crits. When it comes time to delve into Dragons, by the way, if you're using that starter team that features Verd, Fran, Lauren, and some damage, I find that bringing one additional stripper, that is to say, someone who can remove buffs from the enemies, is helpful and will generally improve your success rate. Lauren's great, but she loves to use that strip just at the wrong time. So bringing the Fire Shadowclaw, Chilling, or Belladon can really help with your consistency. So there you go, 22, I think, tips for new players. There are obviously a lot more tips that we could cover in a video like this, so I think I'll be doing more of these if you guys like this sort of thing. If you don't, then I'll stop.